Why are other auto manufacturers so against Tesla? Let's talk about it. Good morning, guys. As you heard in the intro, we're going to discuss today, at least my opinion, of why Tesla is being attacked by other auto manufacturers. And I've got a couple of observations that I'm sure aren't unique to me. I'm sure others have made them, but I wanted to just share my feelings on the matter. So let's go back to the version 1 Roadster. And I believe they made 2,300 of them, if I'm not mistaken. And back then, Bob Lutz was CEO of General Motors. And Bob Lutz had become, I don't want to say friends with Elon Musk, but they had gotten to know each other. There are a number of online videos where you'll see the two of them walking around auto shows looking at the first generation Nissan Leaf and commenting on that. And Bob Lutz was very outspoken early on that it was Tesla's success with the version 1 Roadster that pushed him to press for the development of the generation 1 Chevy Volt. Very, very good car, by the way. I plan on reviewing one sometime soon. But anyway, the first gen Chevy Volt was arguably one of the best, I would say one of the best forays into electric propulsion by any mainstream auto manufacturer, especially in that era. So Bob Lutz was very outspoken about, hey, this small upstart company in Silicon Valley, if they can make an electric car that has performance and range and can really deliver on the promise of electric vehicles, then we can do the same thing. Now, a little bit of a sidebar, they ended up going with their onboard generator engine, mainly because at that time, a battery pack that was large enough to push a car for hundreds of miles was a lot more expensive than it is today. They're still expensive today, but the cost has gone down in the years since the Gen 1 Chevy Volt. So anyway, so that was General Motors' stance back then. They were pro-Tesla. They were pro-electric vehicle. And Bob Lutz, though he is now retired, has really come out in force against Tesla over the last handful of years. Why? Why are other auto manufacturers so against Tesla? Now, let me start by saying it is not necessarily that they're against electric propulsion. And there are a few examples of this, but just we'll bring up the hypercar segment, and this hypercars, super exotic performance sports cars. In that hypercar segment, you've got Rimac, and Rimac is a very small, for those that don't know, a small auto manufacturer in Croatia, the only auto manufacturer ever in Croatia. And at this point, they have hundreds of employees, so they're not a tiny company anymore. But they were founded by Mate Rimac, and he's a very young guy. I'm not sure his exact age at this point, but young guy, and they make multi-million-dollar, all-electric, extremely high-performance exotic cars. And their primary revenue source comes from helping OEMs develop their EV propulsion systems. So one good example of that would be Koenigsegg, also a multi-million-dollar hypercar manufacturer, but they've been very outspoken that Rimac has helped them with their hybrid and hopefully future electric propulsion systems. I believe Rimac has helped major legacy auto manufacturers. I don't want to get into that, but Rimac is not only not attacked, but they are sort of considered the darling of at least high-end electric propulsion. And I know that it's apples and oranges, they're a multi-million-dollar car. However, why is it that they are respected by legacy auto manufacturers, Porsche and different manufacturers that have made comments about them over the years, and Tesla is bashed incessantly by pretty much every manufacturer? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with scale. Rimac is not in any way a threat. They make very few cars. They've openly said they don't want to get into major auto manufacturing, whereas Tesla is stepping on toes. They are striving to become a major auto manufacturer and produce cars in quantity in many hundreds of thousands per year, which makes them a threat to the other auto manufacturers. Now, there is a history to this type of thing. If you remember back, the Tucker was an auto manufacturer that was all about innovation. They were all about being unique. They were all about pushing the boundaries of what technology could deliver, and they ended up being squashed essentially by the big three auto manufacturers at the time. And I mean, I understand it's business is business or whatever, but why not let the product speak for itself? And you know, I don't understand this. My son is into baseball, and I sort of view what the big three did with Tucker similarly to let's say my son's baseball team really wants to win a game, so they sabotage the bus of the visiting team so that team can't show up for the game and they win by default. Come on, I mean, that is cowardice at its highest level, and this is very similar to what we see going on with the major auto manufacturers. There have been a number of extremely negative articles that have come out recently and videos online bashing Tesla and bashing this car, the Model 3, just, I mean, mercilessly. And I wonder why. I mean, the car's not perfect, it has its issues, but a lot of this, I mean, Seeking Alpha is one good example of this. They are constantly pushing articles that are extremely anti-Tesla. All the short sellers on Tesla are just, it's amazing to me. And I understand if a person is negative toward them as a company, or toward Elon Musk, or toward the cars for the shortcomings that they may have, but there seems to be a firestorm of anti-Tesla sentiment in the auto industry as a whole, and it's sort of interesting and infuriating at the same time. So personally, I think a lot of it is sour grapes, and the major auto manufacturers are seeing that their multi-billion-dollar corporations could indeed be threatened by this small upstart company in California, and rightfully so. But part of that is because legacy auto manufacturers keep doing business as usual. Tesla is all about pushing the boundaries. Now, sometimes they push the boundaries beyond where they need. They didn't really need to make, you know, these vents so strangely advanced. And I mean, there's certain things that Tesla doesn't need to do with their cars, but they're experimenting and trying to be as future forward thinking as possible. In my own business, I've had several very small businesses, 1 or 2 person businesses over the years, and I have found that it's always best to take the high road. So, for instance, if there's another company in my area that's competing with my competing to gain my clientele, I would rather tell my clients the positives about that upstart company than the negatives. I'd rather say, well, honestly, from what I've heard, they're probably a decent company, obviously competition for me, but it also helps keep me on my toes and running my business. These are the comments that I make to my clients, because I sound like a rat if I say, well, you got to understand, they're just trying to weasel in on my business and they have this problem and that problem, or going behind the scenes and trying to undermine them as a company. Really not a wise thing to do. Taking the high road is typically the best course. So anyway, a lot of ramblings. I want to know what you guys think about this. I tried not to get political in any way, but you know what, I'm getting kind of fed up with this whole big business, you know, rather not ever having any competition at all, rather than to improve their products to compete with the newcomers. And I believe that General Motors and Ford and Toyota and Honda and all the legacy auto manufacturers have the potential to build really compelling electric cars and sports cars. Why on earth did General Motors make just a basic EconoBox electric car? They are missing what the public is looking for. The Chevy Bolt is actually a very good electric car, and honestly, I even considered getting one for my business, so I'm not against it. But there's a reason why Teslas sell by the hundreds of thousands, and the Bolt, the numbers really aren't that great. So, why not put an electric drivetrain in a small car? If you remember, the Saturn Sky was also marketed as the Pontiac Solstice. Well, why not have, GM, let's resurrect the Saturn Sky and put an electric drivetrain in it. My gosh, would you sell those things in droves. Make it rear-wheel drive, give it a good solid range and strong performance, and they'd sell like crazy. But legacy auto manufacturers want to keep doing business as usual. They only want to release, at least currently, they only want to release electric cars either out of compliance or to dip their toe in the water just to kind of test the market, but they're dipping their toe in the wrong end of the pool. So anyway, what are your thoughts? Go ahead and give me some comments in the comments section. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And let me know what additional content you'd like. I'm eventually going to run out of technical content for this car, but I have a lot of opinion, and there's a lot happening in the industry that can be analyzed. So anyway, hopefully my channel has a long shelf life, and I plan on doing as many of these videos for you guys as I can. So have a great day.